Shouhi here. Welcome back to another episode of Minecraft World Building, where we're building a fantasy world with cities and lore. I've been building in this world for a year now, and I've explored some pretty interesting build styles. Like, we've got the city of Mosswood, this fairy core style area, which uses a lot of colorful organics and recycled trash as the architecture. Then we've got Ashgrund, our dwarven cave city, which is supposed to be a medieval steampunk type city, but with some splashes of diesel punk. And now we're in the Mesa because today I want to start a brand new city in this whole area. I want to start a cowboy city, but with an orcish spin. Ooh. Oh my, look at that. How cute. And it's going to be an orcish Wild West. In other words, we're going to have some orc cowboys up in here. Like, look at these mountains. Jeez, they look so good. So today I want to start a brand new town, or a brand new city maybe, and I want to do it right here in the middle of the Mesa. And the architectural theme for this area is an orcish Wild West town. And you may be asking, hey, that's a really odd style. And you would be absolutely correct. But I think it's gonna look super sick. I mean, we've got the Mesa here, man. Like, it's gotta be Wild West themed. But thematically speaking, Wild Western and orcish architecture is pretty similar in style. So Wild West architecture, for example, uses a lot of browns and a lot of wood types. And then it is also built in a mesa or like a desert type of city. And then orcs also use a lot of wood types and browns. And then it's also typically built in like a badlands type of area. The only difference is for the orcs, they'll probably add some white in the build as well, which will be for the bones. But you know, maybe you're not fully convinced, and in which case I will convince you in this episode. So generally speaking, for this area, I am thinking I'm gonna build right here because, wow, look at this canyon right there. The Mesa mountains look so good right here. And honestly, funny enough, this area is actually built in the western part of the map. So we've got our dwarven city right here in the north, and then we've got the fairy city over here on the east side. And then thematically, the Mesa is in the Wild West, which is absolutely perfect for our setting here. But to start off this area, since it's a Wild Western town, I'm thinking a lot of I'm thinking about the Oregon Trail, and I'm thinking about dysentery a lot. One of the main things that, you know, when you think about Wild Western stuff, you think about, you know, horses and wagons. So since they are also orcs, we're gonna have them kind of like a little mix. It's gonna be kind of warlike as well. So maybe a war caravan or a war wagon that's coming through the town right here. But I'm thinking this will be kind of like the main street right here, and we're gonna have a pretty wide street, and then we'll have, you know, a very straight style town. So it's gonna be like one single road, and then there's gonna be buildings on the side here and the buildings on the side there, and then there's probably gonna be some cross sections, and then maybe we'll put something right around that mountain to make it look extra orcish, extra cool. But now it's my time to try to convince you that this build style absolutely works. So let's cue a cinematic build montage right from the get-go. So I just realized that after 27 videos, I just realized that I'm apparently supposed to record this video game in full screen. So if you suddenly see an improved like quality of the video, then that is why I started to record in full screen. I've been playing on a windowed screen for the last 27, 28 videos, and so the quality of the videos were probably a little blurry, and now it probably feels like it's HD. Or maybe you don't even see a difference at all. But anyways, here is our war wagon, our little caravan that's kind of venturing into this whole Mesa area to start a brand new town. In my opinion, it does look pretty Wild West as well as orcish. You can almost die from dysentery just from looking at it so Wild West. The wheels do still need a little bit of oxidizing, like that little trapdoor in the center does need to oxidize a bit more before I kind of put some wax on it. But aside from that, everything else in the build is done. I think the orcish theme blends pretty well with the Wild West theme. So, you know, I think it looks perfect. But it's pretty big. It's a pretty big build. You know, given that they are orcs, I imagine they would be, you know, the player model is 2 blocks high, and the dwarf would probably be, you know, probably half a head or head shorter. And then an orc would probably be about like 2.5 blocks tall, 3 blocks tall. So, you know, perspective wise, I think it works. Works. I do feel like it is kind of like cartoony. When I look at this, like, especially the bone part, I do think of the Flintstones a lot. But honestly, I think we can take some inspirations from the Flintstones as well. So it might not be a bad idea to look at some Flintstone material. And since the sun is setting for this area, I think we do need to go inside and take a nap. So the way to get up is, you know, we just put a ladder here. It's very high contrast versus the rest of the build. But, you know, I really wish they would have, you know, different wood types for the ladders. It would really help with some decoration. But in the interior, it's pretty empty right now. We've got this like main little entrance area, and then we've got this back room, which looks like a college dorm because it's just straight up a bed. And since this is a war wagon, these would probably be kind of seats for the orcs to sit in. And then, you know, the driver is just carrying a bunch of orcs outwards to wherever they're trying to conquer or settle. And then back here, it would probably be storing some equipment and supplies and, you know, weaponry and whatnot. Obviously, maybe this wagon doesn't have to be just for war. It can be, you know, just maybe it's just a, you know, a caravan. It's a, you know, peace-loving orcs. So I'm thinking for this orcish Wild West style, we're going to use a lot of these brown wood types. So a lot of dark oak and a lot of spruce. And then we will probably use the other wood types as well. And then adding these barrels and like composters adds a lot of detail to something kind of smaller on scale like this, because it adds this like reinforced look that I feel like happens a lot in orc architecture as well. And then the oxidizing copper works really well for the orc style as well. And then also like some of the more like metallic parts for Wild West Town. For the roof, we did use crimson blocks. We used a lot of crimson stairs, and then we did add this one part here. I could probably put a little sign right here from this angle, and then you know, maybe the name of this wagon. So, you know, give me a wagon name, and maybe I'll put it like on the back here and be like a license plate or something like that. But we use a lot of crimson wood, which is not the most commonly used block. I feel like I don't really see people use crimson too often. I do see people use warped a little more often. I think for this region, I can use a lot of crimson and warped wood. I think it would match the aesthetic for the orcs. And then obviously with orcs as well, you got to add these little bony parts to the architecture. So we've got this little bone right there and then a bone right there. I wanted to make the bones look pretty different. We used the wonderful new pale oak blocks, as well as, you know, the stripped pale wood. And then we did add in some little bits of the bone block itself. But this little curve, look at this little curve right there. But I don't know, you tell me if I did a pretty decent job at building like an orcish Wild West style. In general, orcish architecture and, you know, Wild West architecture, you don't really see it too often in the Minecraft space in general. Especially for orc architecture. The only orc architecture I've ever seen is from like Jericraft, and even that video is like 8 years old. So, you know, this is kind of a new innovative take on orc architecture. On the back of the caravan, we added a little seating spot here for any orcs to kind of just sit there and then hop off, you know, during the ride. But this whole style in general was honestly really fun to build. Coming up with this build idea though was pretty challenging, I'm not gonna lie. Especially since there's not really any references to go off of. I did use a lot of Pinterest to get my ideas, and you know, this is the result, and I think I did a pretty decent job at it. One thing that I do need is I need something dragging this wagon. Right now it's just a wagon sitting there. One thing I can definitely rule out that's not pulling this wagon is this horse. Look how tiny Savannah is. She definitely cannot pull this big old wagon. So if you've got any ideas on what can pull a big wagon like this, do let me know. I am willing to go pretty wacky with this whole area. I did think about doing like freaking dinosaurs, you know, like dinosaurs pulling this stuff. It would be pretty cool. In terms of Minecraft, I think Ravagers would work really well, but I'm not about to trap any Ravagers in this area, so unfortunately the Ravagers will not be able to pull this wagon either. So I'm thinking maybe I can build like a dinosaur type of thing pulling this whole cart, or I can just leave it like leave nothing pulling this cart and then, you know, just use the power of imagination for that. But you know, the wacky things like dinosaurs, you know, Wild West dinosaurs, that'd be pretty sick as well. In terms of the world building for this area though, I think I might mix it, like it might not just be orcish architecture, I might also mix it with like goblins. You know, maybe canonically the orcs and the goblins get along pretty well. And in my world, I don't deem orcs as this, you know, naturally evil species. I don't think goblins are natural evil species as well in this world. So goblins and orcs in my world are sentient beings, and you know, it's kind of like World of Warcraft where you can play as an orc, and then the goblins are probably kind of like rivals to the dwarves because, you know, they're tinkerers as well. So this way I can kind of add some steampunk, or like not steampunk, but I can add some coal punk technology up in the skies. There's actually like a YouTube show called Mech West. That's another thing I'm going to be taking probably some inspirations from. Mech West, it's like they've got like coal mechs, which, you know, I've already got mechs for the dwarves, so why not maybe having some mechs here too? Maybe not, but you know, maybe. We're just shooting ideas right now, so you know, if you've got any ideas for this region as well, do let me know. One last thing I want to do in this episode is I want to do a little bit of exploring. There are a lot of these mine shafts in the Mesa, and I think it'd be a nice thing to kind of do some exploration. I'm very build focused series, so I tend to forget about the exploration side of the game sometimes. So I think it might be a nice little touch to add a little bit of that. And while we do that, we can do our very first comment or question of the day. I've got a little book and quill here. So we got a comment from SlothImp317 that says, I love your videos and I'm glad that a small creator I watched is becoming so popular. Your builds are some of my favorites. Also, if you read this, where did you get your channel name? So first off, thank you for the kind words. I wouldn't say I'm getting very like big and popular wise, but I do appreciate the sentiment. Oh, wow. This is already a spider spawner here. Wow, this is probably pretty rare, but there is one spider spawner there, one right there, and then there is a third one right here. Literally like 3 above ground spider spawners, which is super cool. I'm not sure if I can convert this into something useful. I don't know, string is not necessarily the most useful. But back to the question on hand, how did I get the name Shouhi? So I've actually had the name Shouhi since I've been in like middle school, I think. So it's been probably like 10-15 years or so since then. And so where I got the name is I was actually trying to find a like one-word name for my RuneScape account. Back then you really wanted to get like a one-word name for your RuneScape account because, you know, it's all the clout. You don't want any like numbers in your name. You don't want, I don't want to be Shouhi 554 or whatever, you know? So I was trying to find a one-word name to name my RuneScape character, and I couldn't find any single name. I had looked up dictionary.com, thesaurus.com, trying to find some one-word names, but I really just couldn't find any. And so since I couldn't find an English word, I decided to find some English words that I could translate into Japanese I was watching a decent amount of anime at that time, so I was like, you know what? We're gonna be a weeb and we're gonna find a name that works with the Japanese language. And so I was putting in a lot of English words into a translator, and I was trying to find a name that fit like 5 or 6 letters. I wanted a very short name. And one of the words that I liked was the word consumption. I'm not sure why I liked the word consumption so much. You know, maybe it's the American capitalist culture in me or something like that. But so I put consumption into the dictionary or the translator, and you know, it translated to Shouhi. Actually, the spelling can be a little different. It can be Shouhi, but the translator that popped out for me was Shouhi. So I did that, and that's where my name came from, Shouhi. But yeah, I think it was in 2013 when Old School RuneScape released, and I was trying to find a new name. Funny enough, I never actually ended up really playing Old School RuneScape. I ended up playing more of the regular RuneScape. So, you know, I did all this research trying to find a nice, cool name for Old School, and then I ended up playing the new version. And yeah, so since then, I've been using the name Shouhi for basically all the like gaming platforms I play on. So like Steam, you know, RuneScape, Minecraft, and then, you know, whatever games I have on Steam and whatnot. So if you ever see Shouhi in game, it's probably me. But thank you for the question. No one's ever really asked me where that name comes from. So it's a interesting, you know, trip down memory lane to be talking about it. But if anyone does have a comment or question they'd like to ask me, do leave a comment down below, and I'll try to answer a question maybe every single episode, maybe not. We'll see kind of how the questions come along, but, you know, or maybe I can just do like Q&A type of video instead of tacking it on to like the end of an episode. Well, I died, and did you know that freaking skeletons can wear your freaking elytra? Like, what the heck? Is that a bug or something? I've never seen a skeleton wear an elytra before. Yeah, I died 4 times already, so I think I'm done exploring those mine shafts for now. We did get some decent stuff. We did get a lot of raw gold, and then we did get some diamonds. So a nice thing about this area is that it'll have a lot of gold. So you know, that would probably be one of the exports for this area. So in general, like, I like to build cities and towns, and then I want them to have, you know, their own farms and their own exports. So coming back here to the you know, this orc-ish Wild West, I think coming here to get gold would make quite some sense. And then also maybe something like gunpowder. I think gunpowder would be a pretty good export as well for a Wild West town. So I'll probably be building a creeper farm in this area so that I have a reason to come back to this area. I definitely do need a food source in this area. That was one of the things that I had to go look for as well. I had to go find some freaking dirt because there's literally nothing. There's no dirt to grow trees on, and I'm gonna be using a lot of wood, so temporarily I'm gonna be having like a little tree farming spot right around here. But yeah, so I had to go caving in order to get some dirt for these trees. I have my sap pack here, my little sapling bundle, but you know, forgot to bring dirt. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have for this episode. If you have any ideas on what to add to this orcish city, do let me know. And also let me know your name ideas for this orcish town. I'm thinking about making a little like entrance sign right in this area, right here. When you kind of walk into this orcish city, you'll have this orcish gate right here. Or it's not gonna be an orcish gate, it's gonna be like just an orcish sign. Anyways, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.